Hi folks, HR Funk here. And I've got to say, up until January of 2017, my favorite United States president was Theodore Roosevelt. TR was a hunter, an adventurer, and a citizen soldier with a huge personality. Oh yeah, and he was also President of the United States. Now, I think our current president outdoes even TR, especially in terms of personality, but even so, Theodore Roosevelt is still my second favorite president, which is why I am proud to have with me today a modern-day incarnation of the firearm he called his big medicine rifle for lions and dangerous game. What I have with me today is a modern rendition of the 1895 Winchester rifle chambered for the .405 Winchester cartridge. And we're going to take a close look at this rifle here in the shop, and then we'll head out to the range and see how it shoots. The model of 1895 was the last lever-action rifle designed for Winchester by John Moses Browning. And it's significant because it could function with both rimmed and rimless cartridges, and it could accommodate cartridges using pointed bullets. Reason being, the 1895, unlike many of its contemporaries, has an internal magazine that stacks the cartridges one on top of the neck, rather than a tubular magazine under the barrel. And for that reason, there was no concern about the rifle under recoil causing a cartridge in the tubular magazine to move backward and the primer of that cartridge to strike the pointed bullet of the cartridge behind it and detonate inside the magazine. The action of the 1895 ejects cartridges more or less straight up out of the receiver, and the magazine in this particular version, chambered for the .405 cartridges, holds 4 rounds. Now, as I said, this is a modern-day rendition of the classic 1895 Winchester rifle. This particular rifle was loaned to me for this review, and it dates from the early 2000s when it was manufactured by the company then calling itself Winchester, or at least using the Winchester name. As such, it features a couple of updated features, one of which is a rebounding hammer, and when this rifle is fired, and the hammer moves forward and strikes the firing pin, it then rebounds back away and it won't move forward again, so it can't impact the firing pin if the hammer is struck or if the rifle drops muzzle first or anything like that. Also, another safety feature is a tang mounted safety that you can see right here. And when that safety is used, the hammer can be safely lowered from the cocked position without any fear of the hammer slipping from under your thumb and potentially unintentionally discharging the rifle. This modern 1895 rifle features a 24-inch blued barrel with some interesting barrel markings. I don't know if you're going to be able to read this or not, but it's marked on this side, special steel, especially for smokeless powder, which I found interesting. It also has a beautiful color case hardened receiver that I find especially attractive. It has a walnut stock. It features a buckhorn rear sight that's adjustable for elevation and drift adjustable for windage, and if I can get it where you can see it, a bead front sight. This particular rifle weighs in at about 8¼ pounds, but for some reason it feels heavier than that, which is actually a good thing when you consider that this rifle is chambered for the .405 Winchester cartridge, which is going to generate more than a little bit of recoil. Speaking of which, let's take a close-up look at that .405 cartridge. The other half of the team that composed Teddy Roosevelt's big medicine rifle was the .405 Winchester cartridge itself. As I mentioned a little while ago, it was originally devised in 1904, and as originally loaded, it launched a 300-grain pointed bullet at a muzzle velocity of over 2,200 feet per second. That made it the most powerful commercially loaded U.S. round at the time, and even by today's standards, that's still a lot of oomph on both ends of the rifle. And that's the shop review, folks. Now it's time to head out to the range and see how Big Medicine performs. And as you can see, I've arrived out on the range with President Roosevelt's Big Medicine rifle. And in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to start to do some shooting with it. But before I start, I wanted to let you know I'm not going to do a lot of shooting with the 1895 Winchester. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First off, I don't have a tremendous amount of ammunition for it. And secondly, I'd kind of like to be able to use my right arm again tomorrow. So for that reason, I am going to limit the amount of shooting that I do with it, but hopefully there will be enough for you to see how the rifle performs and actually entertain you just a little bit. And I'm going to start out with a simulated lion target. And my simulated lion is going to be at a distance of 30 yards away. And the reason I'm firing from that relatively close distance is because the 1895 chambered in .405 Winchester was intended as a dangerous game rifle. And you don't engage dangerous game at hundreds and hundreds of yards because typically you can't see it that far away. If you are at a distance of something like, say, 30 yards, however, and you take a shot at that game animal, you need something that's going to anchor it right there so it doesn't decide to eat you in retaliation for shooting it in the first place. So I am going to be shooting at fairly close distances out here, but again, we're going to see how this 1895 Winchester performs. And for those of you who are interested, the ammunition for today's test is Hornady Custom 300 grain interlock soft points at a published velocity of 2,200 feet per second. So let's see how they do. And there we go, folks. This first shot was all on me. I just plain jerked the trigger on that one. These two were both pretty good shots, and you can see they landed within about 1 inch of each other. I'm hitting just slightly to the left, and I'm not sure if that's the sights or if that's me, but even with this shot down here and the other two slightly off to the left, I think our lion would have been stopped pretty much right where he was. Our simulated lion has now been replaced by scoundrels. There's members of the Can Clan and a couple of water bottle desperados that have taken their place down on the berm. I'm going to see if I can use Big Medicine to fend them off. I've shot a lot of water bottles and cans over the years with all kinds of different cartridges, and I don't think I've ever seen anything cause the destruction that that .405 Winchester cartridge did on these cans and bottles, and also to the range berm itself. That last bottle that I just shot, I can't find. I can find shreds of it, but it's almost like the thing just vaporized. I can't find the bottle itself. So that is just an unimaginable amount of energy that that .405 Winchester cartridge is unleashing when it hits a target. Well, as I see it, there's only one question left to answer with the Big Medicine rifle. Is it a tack driver? I'm set up at 20 feet. I've got 3 rounds loaded into the 1895, so let's find out. I don't know about you folks, but if I was that tack, I would be scared to death right now. Just off to the left side. All right, third time's a charm. Or not. And not today, folks. I'm not going to get it with the big medicine rifle. Well, I couldn't get much closer, folks, but it just wasn't in the cards today. Looks like 2 shots went through that same exact hole there, just slightly low and to the left, and the second shot was just a little high and to the left. Again, I'm continually hitting a little bit to the left, so I think probably for me this sight needs a little bit of an adjustment, but even so, just couldn't pull off the tack shot today. Before we head back into the shop, I wanted you folks to get a look at this gorgeous color case hardening out here in the sunlight. In fact, I turned the camera around to get the best sunlight on the rifle. Look at that. It is absolutely beautiful. And I am a sucker for color case hardening, and I just cannot get enough of looking at that wonderfully case hardened receiver. But now, let's head back to the shop for some parting thoughts. Despite its significant design features, its popularity with the Russian military, and its endorsement by Teddy Roosevelt, the 1895 Winchester was something of a failure for the company. And over the course of the 35 years that it was manufactured, there were less than 133,000 of these rifles sold. Even so, if you happen across one of the originals, or even one of these more modern manufactured rifles, they are extremely interesting, they are a fine firearm, and they are a lot of fun to shoot. And there you have it, folks. That's my review of Teddy Roosevelt's Big Medicine Rifle for Lions and Dangerous Beasts. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, as always, make sure you forward those to me. Remember, if you order anything from Optics Planet, be sure to use my discount code, which is... And if you use that discount code, it's good for 5% off anything you order from Optics Planet. See you next time, folks. And until then, good shooting. Bye-bye.